bunch of stuff down, so I'll try not to drone on. But my journey to the Congress was a little bit different. I received an email from Amy that I initially ignored because I thought it was spam. And then I went home and I told my husband, he was like, oh yeah, I got one of those too. And I was like, huh, that's weird. And then I was picking up Wyatt from school and I saw Father Cooper and he was like, hey, I did a thing. It was like, oh, what did you do? And he was like, I put your name in for their scholarship, but no one from our side of the state ever wins. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. But you won. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so do you want me to go? And he was like, well, you don't have to, but like, it's this big thing and they only do it once every so often and they haven't done it in forever. But you don't have to. And I was like, but should I go? He was like, well, you know, like you don't have. And I was like, but do you want me to go? And he was like, well, you know. So I decided to go. So looking back, maybe he knew I needed it. And as Sister Miriam said on one of our first nights there are no coincidences. So it would have been easier for me to say no, right? I've got 3 kids. It's blueberry season. I take time off work, but I said yes. So I started looking into it and realizing, yeah, this is kind of a big deal. So I got pretty excited, but also a little bit nervous about going by myself without my husband. But it was really good for me. The first night was extremely impressive, but a little bit overwhelming. In what could only be described as an atmosphere reminiscent of a major rock concert, the build-up to the Eucharistic procession was intense. As an elder millennial, I felt like the boy band concerts of the past, where it's all like, you know, big bass and strobe lights, and that everything went completely dark, and the procession started. I hadn't been to adoration in a long time, maybe since college, but after the procession, there was time of adoration. Being in a huge sports stadium with 60,000 people in complete silence is nothing short of spectacular. I don't know if it makes sense, but it wasn't that awkward silence where people are like clearing their throats and coughing and like moving around and trying to start their like Midwest goodbyes. It was this super warm, welcome, safe silence. If you don't believe, it's 60,000 people kneeling on concrete in silence, staring at this big gold thing holding bread. But if you do believe, how powerful is that? It's 60,000 people kneeling on concrete, worshiping all together in complete silence. They said that you can't spend time in adoration without being impacted, and I'll admit the following nights afterwards I definitely was and had shed some tears. The first night, Sister Miriam said that we all had different journeys that led us to the Congress, and maybe some of us were voluntold to be there. And I was like, hey, do you know Father Cooper? But then she said something to me that stuck throughout the Congress, and she said, it's good that we are here. And I was like, you know what, you're right. It's good that I am here. I talked to my husband after that first night, and I said, this is really intense. It's really awesome, but I feel like maybe I'm not Catholic enough. And then I said, but maybe that's the point. Maybe I'm supposed to be here. Maybe I'm supposed to be called deeper to my faith. Maybe I'm supposed to be here to explore and find out more and reconnect. And to be honest, I didn't know a lot of the featured speakers, you know, Father Mike Schmitz or Dr. Mary Healy or any of those people. But if you guys can get Wyatt into a healing session with her, sign me up. And I kind of felt like an imposter. But something else that was said during the Congress that stuck with me was, come as you are and you will be met with love. So I did. I came as I was. I opened my heart and my mind and took everything in. Now, on the second night, there was a story about a baby in the NICU. And if anyone knows me or my son Wyatt, he is a 6-year-old who has cerebral palsy, and he spent the first 6 weeks of his life in the NICU. So after that story, that's when the tears kind of started flowing a little more. And that night we went to confession. It was late and we got in line. And I had never done a face-to-face confession before, but that line was moving faster. So that's what we did. So I don't know. As a funny aside, we were sitting there waiting and someone sneezed. And it was the most I'd ever hear anyone say, God bless you. So I was super nervous. It'd been quite a while since my last confession. I had a great priest, sat down to talk to him. Bless me, O Father, for I have sinned. It has been years since my last confession.
Cool.
It was years, it was double digits, and it was greater than 1. And it's face to face, right? So like he can't hide that he went, ooh. Okay, he can't hide that. But the first thing he said to me was, welcome back. And when it's been that long, the small things seem inconsequential. I said the Lord's name in vain, I yelled at my kid, all that stuff seems like nothing. But it's the bigger things, right? Sometimes I'm not a good mom. Sometimes I'm not a good wife. Sometimes I have a really hard time reconciling what I do in my profession and with my faith. And he asked me why it took so long for me to come back, and I didn't really have a good answer. He was pretty lenient because I only got 7 Our Fathers. So after that, it was close to 11 p.m. We went out and we went to the chapel of adoration and did our penance before going back to our hotel. Another point that stuck with me was the masses. The masses were extremely impressive. There was over 1,500 priests there, not taking into account the seminarians, the deacons. I didn't know there were that many types of nuns. There was just tons of religious people there. As one of my breakout sessions, I attended a session on Catholic education. And I kept getting drawn back to my children and the children of our community and how important it is that we're raising kind children who are strong in their faith. And in this session, they stressed the importance of raising our children in virtue, and even from a young age, allowing them to grow within the virtues that are appropriate to their level. We talked about how important it is to choose good role models that allow our children to practice and grow in virtue and fail sometimes. And that as parents, we're the first and primary educators of the faith. It's not just enough to send our kids to Catholic school. They got it, we're good, we did a good thing. It all takes place at home. So we have to encourage our kids to have courage, make good decisions, and do the right thing. I feel super fortunate to have a Catholic school within our small community, and I was excited to bring back some of what I learned to our household. I also brought back some Lego altar servers and Advent wreaths, which were super cool. One of the best parts of the Congress to me was the continuously underlying theme of love. We talked about the path from ignorance to knowledge, which is overcome with truth. But sometimes ignorance isn't the problem, and it's rather indifference. The remedy for indifference is love. So we don't necessarily need more knowledge, we need more love. Knowledge can make you great, but only love can make you a saint. And that's our goal as parents, as educators, as anybody, grandparents, to try to raise saints. So we need to lead with love. So as I continued through the Congress, the other message was you are not disqualified. Being broken, not enough, not doing enough, doesn't make you disqualified. God does not want anything from us, but for us. So these ordinary and simple encounters in life are also sacred and meaningful and profound. So I shared the week with two women, my roommate, another woman who was with us, and I don't think they'll ever know how much they pushed me a little bit outside my comfort zone, but I was grateful that they were there. And I would share stories, everyone shares stories, and I was traveling with Wyatt by myself. I left all of our electronics at TSA, and I had to get off the plane and run back to security. It was a whole big thing, and, why did they let you off the plane? And a woman I was with, Tina, said, well, it was the Holy Spirit. And it just clicked, and I said, you know what? That's the lens of life. Why can't we all think that? All these things in our lives that just work out, and I'm glad that happened that way. Maybe it's not coincidence. Maybe it is the Holy Spirit intervening for us and through us. So the charge was to bring what we learned back to our community and back to our lives. Maybe not making big waves, but small ripples. Living a Eucharistic life allows us to recognize the seeds that are thrown for us and throw seeds for others. It's not our problem where the seeds land, but they can't grow if they're not there at all. So we don't have to be a fire hydrant, just a sprinkler system. So maybe I won't become this huge missionary, but if I can bring just a little more of God in the Eucharist into our parish and my everyday life with my family and children, then the whole experience was worth it. So as was my charge, I will aim to show a gesture of love every single day, love my spouse and my children, even in times when they're challenging and overwhelming. So thank you to Bishop Walsh, to Father Cooper, to Amy and Cameron for organizing this. I had a great time, and I'll cherish this experience forever.
Thank you.